I feel that, that whole anxiety, I genuinely believe this, that feeling anxious and letting our emotions paralyze us is not okay. And it's not only about one person feeling anxious or not. I feel the way it has become normal, everybody's anxiety, that is not okay. We have to be so strong and so fit emotionally and mentally that we shouldn't fall into these, and we are not taught these tools. Nobody talks about it. So thank you so much for sharing. This is like, it's a wonderful story. Sometimes when you wake up and you want to keep going, these stories kind of give you that whole inspiration to go through a tough day. Hi there. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Absolutely Right podcast. My name is Aditi Surana. I'm a graphologist, a high performance coach, and an anti anxiety expert. Now, 2020 was a dramatic year for all of us. But for my team and I, it was slightly different because the day the lockdown was announced, we started our first social initiative, a 21-day free anti anxiety journaling workshop. We didn't think much of it. We thought a few people will join here and there. But in last 18 months, we have had more than 7,000 people who have gone through this process, tried the beautiful Calmsutra stroke practice, and have seen some unbelievable results. Every time, every week, when I hear these stories from people, I feel it's worth all the efforts because the stories are inspiring. People have gone off their sleeping pills after 20 years. Some people have dealt with their prolonged anxiety. We had beautiful stories where people wrote how they reconsidered their thought of killing themselves. The family was losing their life and how they held the ground and stayed calm in the middle of chaos. Now, when I hear all of these things, I feel it's worth all the efforts that we put in, because somewhere out there around the world, different people, strangers that I've never spoken to, never heard from, have got benefited by the Kama Sutra technique. So that powerful the technique is. Today's episode is very special for me because we have our listeners who have gone through this journey, dealt with their COVID fight, and did not allow COVID to affect their mind with the help of Kama Sutra journaling technique. You got it right. It's the exact technique that we use on our Friday short episodes where I give you the 3-step process, right? The question, the astro practice, going to the handwritten journaling. If you want to try the 21-day free workshop, the link is aditisurana.com/lockdown21. Try it out. Do not let anxiety get to you. Today you'll hear some amazing stories and experiences where people like you and I have tried things to shift their perspective and did not give up on themselves and kept going at it to resolve the problems. Without further ado, let me invite our special guests on the show, our wonderful listeners, Neha, Sheetal, and Sohini. Welcome, ladies. Welcome to Absolutely Right. This is very interesting. All the participants of today's episode have gone through the Kama Sutra 21-day anti-anxiety journaling workshop. They have had their own experiences. And after talking to them, after hearing their stories that they had written to us about, we decided to have them as our, guest on the show. This is listener special. These are my favorite episodes also because I get to really talk to our listeners, figure out what's going on in their mind. And all of you who are listening or watching this episode can connect to these conversations. You can learn what people are, using the stroke for, what they're doing with the journaling technique, what are their challenges, what are your challenges. You may find answers like that.
So hi Aditi and hi everyone. So I'm Neha. I'm currently working for the marketing department at Star, and I came across this workshop last year, just around the lockdown when Aditi had shared it on a page, and I got to know about it. Got to know about it through a friend's Insta page, and it's helped me immensely. Aditi, what I would want to know is that last year when I did this workshop and you were kind enough to do a handwriting analysis for me at that time, there were a lot of things that you had told me about, things that I could change for getting over it, or getting through the situation. uh, uh, Now if you look at my handwriting, my present handwriting, can you see that change reflecting in it? Because I do feel a lot of change in my headspace, and in the way that, in my outlook, in the way that I'm looking at things. So
Okay.
is that something that is visible?
Okay, that's a great question, Neha. And for our listeners, I get this question a lot that my handwriting keeps changing. How is it valid? How is it relevant? How can you analyze my personality on the basis of it? Now, the very moment you think about changing handwriting, and Neha's question woven here, that if you're changing as a person and if your handwriting is reflecting you as a person, then technically it should change. So, Neha, first thing that has happened over this 1 year, I would say, is you have started dealing with your emotions in more effective manner and communicating them. You're actively working towards communicating, which you couldn't do, you did not do it in the past. So what I
Right.
see, which is very interesting, is your handwriting we call slant, which is the tilt of your writing. It talks about emotional responsiveness for the writer. So when the writing is towards the left, you hold your emotion back a lot more. Your handwriting was to the left and is to the left even now, but the degree has changed. The degree is different now, and it is moving towards the straightish writing a bit more. Nothing right or wrong about it. Both of them have their own strengths, but as a
Yeah.
person, you have consciously worked towards letting other people know what you're feeling and how you're feeling and how they can help you feel more secured. And I think that's
Yeah.
beautiful. I think you have had those tough conversations in this 1 year. Is it
Yeah.
so?
It's so bang on. I can't even tell you. It is. It is. I have consciously worked on that. Whether it was my personal or professional life, more so, I had certain dreams or things that I really wanted to achieve. So this year, I did have those honest conversations, whether it was with my seniors, whether it was with myself, importantly, on what I wanted to do, and I worked consciously towards it. One of the other things that you also told me is that I have to take those steps, and rather than just sit back and look at what can happen or what I wish could happen, take those steps towards what I wanted to achieve. And I think this year I consciously did all of
It's
that. I said
amazing. That's
these are the
amazing.
things I want to achieve. This is how
It's
I'm
it's
going to do it.
beautiful because last year when we started this, we started two initiatives. One was 21-day anti-anxiety workshop in 2020, and we said let's talk and have conversations about anxiety. So we said 4 sessions every single day as our gift for people who are dealing with any form of anxiety.
Extrovert, suddenly being confined to your house and not being able to go out. A part of my work also involves talking to a lot of people, going out, and I love traveling. So suddenly from going that to being stuck in Bombay to BHK, which is anyways quite a small space, gave me a lot of anxiety. So yeah, but
So I'm gonna break that myth. It is so beautiful, and I'm very happy and very proud to do that. So
yeah,
many times when we are very good at speaking with other people, connecting with them, we believe we are extroverts. And
yeah,
when we look at people who are quieter and who are shy in a way, that we think those are the people who are introverts. Now, in your writing, we have this beautiful combination because your writing goes to the left, you are truly an introvert, but because you're a social person and because your job demands that you connect with people, you have mastered the skill of socializing and speaking and connecting. And also, I believe your family always encouraged that.
yeah,
So you kind of had that environment around. Now, when you think you're an extrovert person, but you're truly not, you start forcing yourself to behave in a certain manner. So the
mhm,
anxiety that you're experiencing about being in a lockdown and being stuck and all of that was actually not true, but it was a pseudo form of anxiety because you believed to be an extrovert, which you truly are not. So, which is
yeah.
very interesting for me to figure out. And how did you survive the lockdown? Did you really find it difficult or you enjoyed it?
A mix of both. Like you said, I enjoy being in my own space. I like to be, on my own quite a lot of times, just with my coffee and my books and, stuff like that. But I did miss going out, like, just thinking of the possibility. Sometimes you get it in your mind that, you want to go to this place and that place. And that I think takes a lot of, mind
Precedence.
space.
Sure.
Yeah. So that happened. But I think now, since it's been close to now 15, 16 months, I think I've got into that comfortable space also because I've learned how to identify my emotions, like you said. So we normally just broadly think of it as I'm happy or I'm sad, but there are different emotions. Am I really sad or am I angry? Is it fear? Is it guilt? Is it shame? Things like that. So now I know and I can work on those
That's
accordingly.
amazing. Like this little sentence that you just said, that being able to differentiate instead of good versus bad,
Yeah.
happy versus sad, when we start seeing the layers of our emotions, we start identifying and recognizing what is the trigger, what is causing it. I feel that's liberating. Anytime when you can recognize your emotions at a deeper level, it is liberating.
Yeah,
Okay,
it is.
next one, please.
So my name is Sheetal and I'm from Mumbai and I work in a travel agency. So basically, I got to know about the Calmsutra. I was just browsing through the Instagram. So that's where I came to know about it, and I quite like because my name is S. It starts with S. So I love the alphabet S. So anything to do with S creatively, I really love. So I was quite amused with this S, like how someone is writing this S in a different way, so I was very amused. So I just joined the page, like send me the newsletter and all that. So the mail came, and that's when I came to know that you had this session last year also, basically. So I was like, shit, I missed it, like 2020 and this and that, I couldn't attend. But as they say, luck may have, so you just announced it this year also. And I just, before the this was starting the workshop, one day before that I tested COVID positive.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah, so basically, as they say, the timing was absolutely right, and this really, really helped me to maintain my, like normalcy, my presence, my mind. Otherwise, with COVID playing havoc on your body and your mind, and also more because my mom was also tested positive with
Oh
me.
my God.
So I was very scared because more for my mom than me
Of course.
because of the age gap and everything and all that. And it was like when we both got COVID, it was like COVID was at its peak. So there was even less of beds and less of hospitals, and so that whole fear and and just being at home and thankfully my father, he's also with us, but he didn't test positive, so he was
Thank God.
alone. So he managing his test, and then we both are managing us over here in the room. So it was a very, very tricky situation, but
It
as
was.
I would really say that your talks and the Kama Sutra actually changed.
That's
So
amazing.
seriously, thank you.
No,
Seriously,
thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you for trusting the process more than anything else. I feel that, that whole anxiety, I genuinely believe this, that feeling anxious and letting our emotions paralyze us is not okay. And it's not only about one person feeling anxious or not. I feel the way it has become normal, everybody's anxiety, that is not okay. We have to be so strong and so fit emotionally and mentally that we shouldn't fall into these, and we are not taught these tools. Nobody talks about it. So thank you so much for sharing. This is like, it's a wonderful story. Sometimes when you wake up and you want to keep going, these stories kind of give you that whole inspiration to go through a tough day. So thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
What's your question, Sheetal?
I would say that I feel that when I start something new, I'm like with all the josh and everything, I'll go ahead halfway through it, and then I lose a fizz. I feel fizzed out, and then
Okay.
I feel like, okay, now I should run back to my comfort zone. So
Okay.
then I should just go back to my cocoon. So that is
Okay.
what I really feel.
So can you give us an example of where did you try that and why are you saying it?
Yeah, so basically, it is like as I said that I'm working in a travel agency, and we are not doing so good since last year because
Of
for
course.
obvious reasons. So last year, what I did was I decided to have a career change. I said I'll try career counseling. So I did my course, and I thought I'm quite good at it also, but only because of seeing that, okay, like seeing many young people and more skilled. So I just like went through it. I finished my course. I did well, but then I didn't. I just fizzed out. So I have not taken I'm not taken any more initiatives towards it. Where I could have gone and like actually taken one, two more cases of career counseling and seen how I would do it. But I just didn't, and I just ran back to my travel agency.
Okay. So
And
I'm going to
then
break this question for our listeners to connect with it. So there are three parts to anybody acting in this manner. One is about execution, is actually running out of the steam required to move forward and do what is needed. So that is one part. Another part is the idea of perfectionism that you have, because you're like, oh, if it is not perfect, why should I do it? If it is not going to guarantee results, I might as well not do it. If the risk is not worth the whole process, let me stay away from it. So there is like this perfectionism playing. So that is another aspect. And third aspect is not being fully convinced.
True.
No matter which way you look at it, if you're not convinced, if your heart is not in the same place, then you wouldn't want to do it. So it's not about perfectionism, not about execution. So I'm going to look at your writing and find if all of them are true, some of them are true, only one of them are true. Okay.
Cool.
So Sheetal, first thing first, when it comes to execution, that is absolutely not your problem. Okay, please look at your own writing that is in front of you. Check for loops of letter Y and letter G, which are complete. They're well rounded, they're formed, and they start from a point. You come back, you come down, form the stroke, and you go up and complete the stroke beautifully. Talking about your execution skills being to the T, which I believe your agency and your colleagues and your bosses kind of count on. They love the fact that once the work is given to you, they can sleep, they can forget about it, they can absolutely do not even check. Is that true?
Yeah, that's so true.
Now let's look at the second aspect that I spoke about, which is about perfectionism. Now again, when I look at your writing, perfectionism is found in the writing when the second hump of letter M is taller than the first one. Okay, which is not your problem. Again, which means you are not a perfectionist. So though you may think that, oh, I'm trying to build this perfect idea and I'm trying to run away from the failure, possible failure, that is not your problem. Okay, so second possibility ruled out. Third possibility, if you have to go and say, are you fully convinced? Do you have the conviction here? Now that I'm going to break into two parts. Conviction is built by you believing in yourself, and second, you believing in the idea. Okay, the self-belief as a concept is seen in the writing when you cut the horizontal line of the letter T, lowercase letter t, below, closer to the baseline. Okay, so that is applicable in your case. So when you have the T bar placed very low, that talks about how you do not allow yourself to believe in things which are risky, believe in things which are not guaranteed, believing things that you might not be able to figure out. And there is a huge discussion in your mind with yourself when nobody's around, which is very, very harsh and mean and very reprimanding in that sense. Why didn't you do it? Why you could have done that? You should have done
True,
that.
true. It is so true.
This is definitely self-doubt that is stopping you. But when I look at overall your way of looking at situations, I would also say that you do not have full conviction in career counseling, right? You don't think you might be able to genuinely help people. And when you did it, when you tried it with the real case studies, I felt you didn't enjoy that process as much
Mm,
as you expected yourself to enjoy.
true. In some way, it is true. I really didn't enjoy it, like so much. But then, what you're saying is true. I didn't enjoy, like, really enjoyed it.
And that's what we do, right? We bring in logic and we say, because I have done the course and because I wanted to make a career shift, I should enjoy the next one. Probably you won't. It's like if you don't like pasta that is served on the table, that doesn't mean you will like the risotto ordered by the person next to you. You might not even like that. So this is a time for you to sit and ask, what exactly do I want to do as my career? And if you want to make a shift, then make one more attempt. Like, it shouldn't be like, oh, I tried once and it did not work out, what's the point? You tried once and you learned what you don't like, and I think that's worth all the attempts and experimenting.
Right. True. Thank you. Thank
Welcome.
you.
Sohini?
Hi, I'm Sohini. I'm a marine biologist. So I was working for last few years in the Andaman Islands to conserve a marine mammal called dugong, if you guys have heard of it.
Mhm.
So right now I'm between jobs. So I left my job last year during the lockdown because there was no growth over there.
Okay.
And then, I'm yet to find something else, and I'm also applying for PhD positions and everything.
Okay.
So this period was quite uncertain for me. So that is when I started feeling anxiety. I didn't get those physical, the shivering,
Symptoms.
yeah, symptoms, that those things. But I used to overthink a lot.
Okay.
I have to go back, question my decisions if they were taken at the right time or not, and then if this is how it should have been, or I should have waited, or something like that. And I actually came across this workshop on Instagram. There was some ad. So I was generally interested in graphology since a few years. So I knew what
Mhm.
graphology is. So I knew that this would work, if not anything else. So I decided to give this a shot. Let's see what happens. If there's some and it definitely helped. It definitely calmed me down. And
Nice.
yeah, there are some bad days, but I know how to deal with them in a better way, I would say. So
That's amazing. And I read your email that you sent, and it was so genuine and it was so real when you described your journey and you said how waking up calmer in the longest time is your
yeah,
achievement. And I thought that was a great achievement for
almost a
all of
year,
us.
I would say. Like,
It's
it has been
amazing.
a year since I was really restless. So yeah, this has really helped me a lot. Yeah.
So Sohini, what's your question for me?
Yeah. So I wanted to ask, how do you stay motivated in this situation? Like, not only my career, this thing problem, but in general, when you see because of COVID, like even if you try to stay calm, there are things going bad, and you don't know when things will get better.
Of
So
course.
for how long, like how to stay motivated through this, and yeah, basically that. And even if you are quite calm in
Okay.
situations, there are other people around you who are quite agitated because of things, which does affect you. So
Of
it does
course.
affect, my
Of course.
surroundings affect me a lot. So I need peace and calm in my surroundings, and that is the ideal situation that never happens. So so how do you stay motivated
I
in?
think we all require that question on a daily basis. How to stay motivated, how to not give in the news that we watch and all the challenges that we have around, and how to kind of stay afloat. If
Yeah.
not like moving forward a lot, at least stay afloat and know that you are in control of your mind, your body, and everything that is happening around. Tough question to answer, but to break it down in few steps, we have to look at it. I speak about this concept, and this week we started our mental and emotional gym called APT. And the first topic that I picked up was stress appetite. Okay, what is stress appetite? Is we are taught that you can be happy without stress, without things going wrong, without people standing in your way. Now, if you look at high performers, if you look at athletes, if you look at racing car drivers, all these people train their bodies and their minds to perform under pressure,
Mhm.
to deal with the problem at hand and still figure out a way to stay in control of the situation. Now, if you look at their performance, the pressure is so high, everything is like at stake, all of that is happening. But a good player is not the one who knows how to play, but the one who can make right decisions about what to play.
Mhm.
Similarly, in our cases, on people who are not into these so-called sports or performance related stuff, we don't see how we can implement it. But
Mhm.
if we change our attitude and if we say, how can I build my stress appetite? Which means anything that comes in front of me, any challenge that shows up, what if that is my training program? So I have built little muscle of calmness. Now I want to test my muscle of calmness. I don't want to be in Himalayas without anybody disturbing me and then only feel calmness. I feel we all require functional calmness. You know how people are functionally anxious? We want functional calmness where we can walk into a situation and no matter what happens, we can still hold on to our calmness. And how we will be able to do it is by literally trying and testing different situations. So I'm born and brought up in Bombay, and people who are not from Bombay, they come to Bombay and they say, how much traffic you guys have, it is so stressful. And if you are from Bombay, traffic is not the source of your stress at all, only because you are entrained into it. you have grown with it. So if you know, if I'm going in a traffic hour to this place, instead of 20 minutes, it's going to take 1 hour. So you're prepared, you carry your headphones, so you listen to what you want, or you read something on the way, or you make your phone call. So you prepare for that 1 hour. You don't expect the traffic to change for you to feel calm. But when you say that, but oh, I know it's the traffic hour, I'm choosing 6 p.m., so it will take 1 hour or whatever. So I might as well be ready for it. That is stress appetite. Stress appetite is saying that every situation that comes my way, how can I still stay afloat? So I believe that if we change our perspective, instead of saying, I want everything to be quiet, to be calm, we say, okay, in spite of everything, how can I be calm? That's a different question, different approach. And I always feel like with the very moment you change your perspective, it changes the game. Like you're like, oh, now I'm not fighting the same wall. I'm actually on a different direction, looking at a different problem. Now my game is, my scores will be kept if I walk into more and more difficult situations and still keep calm.
So Aditi, actually taking ahead from her question only, there's so many like now anxiety and everything, and it's so much over the social media, right? So one question that, or one thing that people keep on talking about is that once you've gone through that, then it's very difficult to come out of it. In terms of you might know how to cope with it, but is it necessarily going to be a lifelong thing? Is there going to be any way out of it? Like like you said, probably finding peace in the chaos is, yeah, what you, or building your building
Stress
yourself
appetite.
accordingly. Yeah, stress appetite. But is there any is it, do you really believe that it's a lifelong thing and you
I
just have to
don't.
learn how to cope with it?
Absolutely not. I feel feeling anxious is an unnatural thing. It is absolutely against the human nature. We are wired to grow, be calm, literally enjoy everything. And this is what we were when we were born as kids, right? We didn't have these concerns. Anxiety begins fundamentally with we identifying a lot with everything outside of us. For example, my achievement as a professional, my role as a spouse, my appearance in front of other people, whether they approve it or not. We can have different triggers, but anxiety is fundamentally we identifying with our achievements or our work or our possessions as us, which a child does not have.
Hmm.
Right? So the very moment you start identifying with it, then you want to make sure that your work is good, because that means you're good. And anybody who is questioning your work is questioning you, and then you defend it with all the anger, all the, like all the defense mechanisms that are available, not because the problem is with the issue, but because you have made it very, very personal.
Yeah.
Now, if you do a stroke practice and when you go on the breath pattern, you know how we do it. We use a 3-step process. I ask you a question that triggers you in a particular manner. And we hold on to that emotional turmoil, and we walk into the stroke practice where you use the breath to regulate your emotions. And I call that process a washing machine process. Why? Because I feel when you walk into that process with the turmoil and the machine goes on, things that are unnecessary are taken away. By the end of that one page of stroke, and you all have experienced it, so you know what I'm saying. You're like, but I'm not feeling as upset as I was when I began the process.
True. That is so true.
Right?
That's so
I'm like,
true.
suddenly what happened? I haven't found a solution. I don't know exactly what I will be doing, but I don't feel the pang anymore.
Yeah.
That is the power when you kind of disconnect and step away from the situation which you're identifying a lot with. Okay, then you do the writing, and then you kind of use the cognitive part. But the key of changing your anxiety is literally in that handwriting therapy part, because it takes you away, disconnects you from the problem, which is like literally attached everywhere on your face and you can't remove it. That is the key. So if you practice that, if you master that, and also if you start realizing the larger idea that, I believe this a lot. I feel every person I'm supposed to work with, meet, have a conversation will show up. And every person that I'm not supposed to work with, no matter how hard I wish to try and I have desires and all of that, but it won't happen. And this is, I think, part of growing up. And especially in this work, I have heard so many stories of people doing everything in their capacity, putting everything at risk, and still things not working. And you wonder, oh, This person did everything correct and still it didn't work out. And someone else who has not done everything correct and still it worked out, or they failed and they're okay with it. So when you hear stories like that, you start taking life less seriously,
Yeah.
right? When you take your life very seriously, it has to be a perfect answer to everything because you are dealing with it. The very moment you look at it from a distance and say, okay, I'm going to play the game and see where it goes, it just changes the way it is.
Yeah.
It changes your experience of it. And I don't believe that any success, any achievement going to change your life experience. Ponder about this one little thing. The journey is so important that if you have, imagine you're traveling and your journey was horrible and the destination is beautiful. The journey was also part of the whole experience. It's not only the destination. It matters what you feel on a daily basis.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
we got to be very, very aware of it.
And like you were saying, when I practice the S stroke, sometimes now that my this thing is over, if there are times when I just journal about a particular question that I have in mind, but I find so much difference when I do the S stroke and then do the question, because in doing the S stroke I give myself the time to even when doing the S stroke, sometimes I'm thinking about the answer already. So when I'm writing down my thoughts, I already have that clarity.
Completely. And the stroke in between the question and response is very important, because this is where you use a different technique. If you only ask a question and write, it's like any other journaling, technically speaking. So
Yeah.
you have asked something and you're writing how you feel about it. Where is a change? So I always call it like you open a wound and then you apply medicine and then you close the wound. If you keep opening the wound and keep closing it, you'll feel the same way that you felt 5 minutes back, probably a little better, but not substantially better, because you haven't done anything to use a solution there. So a stroke is the medicine that we put when you open the wound and before you close it. That's
Exactly.
important.
Yeah.
One more thing which I cannot move ahead without adding this part to your question. So there's a book written by Viktor Frankl. It's called Man's Search for Meaning. And
Hmm.
he says that if you have some sort of meaning that you connect with, a larger idea, then it makes even your suffering very meaningful.
Hmm.
Even if have to go through like a very, very tough, arduous task for that matter, you don't feel lost with it. And I'm going to give you a small example. My team and I, when we started the lockdown process, for 3 months, we worked at least 16 hours a day, non-stop. First 90 days, because we got such a response and so many people we were speaking with on a daily basis, it was unreal how much emotional stability we required to build, to be available and to be there to make sure that and I'm not only talking about me, I'm saying everybody in my team were like there and answering questions and responding to every message, and we didn't know what we were walking into, right? We just decided we want to like do our best and we jumped in, and as we jumped in, things started increasing and we didn't know, so we're like literally chasing our tail on a daily basis. When we look back after 15 months, those 3 months were the best time we have ever had as a team. We cannot take that experience away, because it was tough, it was difficult, it was driven by this larger idea of serving something bigger than you, making sure that you are available, you're doing your part, all of that. So it gave us so much of satisfaction. Every day we went to bed feeling that we had the day was meaningful and beautiful. I believe that could be amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you only make it about us and our performance, as I said, that causes more anxiety. The very moment you kind of make the larger idea a bigger game, then it changes. So Sohini, you are asking a question about your idealistic approach,
Hmm.
right? If
Yes.
you take that idealistic approach and if you say, but this must be done and that should happen, if
Hmm.
we turn that around and if you say, okay, being a marine biologist that I am, what is my larger idea? Is it about the person I'm working with? Is it about my boss, or it is truly about the the species that I'm supposed to save, help, contribute to by doing the larger work? The very moment you connect with them, connect with that role that you will be playing,
Hmm.
then dealing with human beings will happen as a part of the
Yeah.
process. Okay, so for our listeners who are wondering what exactly is happening, what we are talking about, Kama Sutra journaling, we have that as a part of our every Friday episode where I give you a question. Then I tell you this 3-step process where you'll be doing the Kama Sutra stroke and then responding in a handwritten style. We also have one complete workshop created if you're dealing with anxiety of any sorts. You can give it a try, experience it. It takes just 20 to 30 minutes a day. Figure it out like this. The link is aditisurana.com/lockdown21. Check it out. Everybody that we are speaking with today have gone through that process and have seen some great benefits. So if I have to ask you this question, what was that one turning point during the workshop? What was that point where you felt, oh, I never thought about it, oh, this is where my perspective shifted? I'm really curious to know. Sure.
So basically, for the entire 21 days, I really liked. I will talk about the turning point for me, but I really liked how the entire flow moved from first me understanding my emotions to then thinking about, then facing them, and then finally coming to now what can I do about them. So one of the questions that two questions in fact that really work for me is what belief am I carrying about this event right now, right? Because like you said, I am an introvert and extrovert both. So to understand that, what is it that is really affecting me, how, like, what are my thoughts about it, got a lot of clarity for me. And what would just happen if I accept the situation right now, the acceptance of saying that this is what is going to be there. So now how do I cope up with it? I think just when you accept the situation and then work towards whatever you have, I think that makes a lot of difference, instead of just crying or overthinking or worrying about it, saying that this is what is happening and now I'm stuck here. Maybe just accepting and working towards a solution is what really worked for me.
That's amazing. So it's interesting. So I'm writing a book now on journaling,
Yeah.
and this question of what belief do I have about this particular event? Today morning, I was thinking whether we should keep that in the journaling process or not. Good. I'm happy that we spoke about it. I know it's a valuable turning point. Okay, so Hini.
Yeah, for me, because overthinking was the issue, uh, that day's journaling question was about identifying what exact emotion you feel when you repetitively think of some situation. So that was the turning point. Like it took me to the crux of the problem.
Wow.
That why do I keep thinking about this thing is because of this unresolved emotion that I was feeling. So once I accepted that, that was when the calmness started, like
Wow.
started happening. So because I never thought of this situation in this way, I used to think, yeah, I just, something is bothering me about this situation. I replay it in mind. Maybe I want to, thinking about if I would have reacted in a different way or something like that. So that was the thing, that was my problem. So that since then things have been much better. I
So
would say.
you're also saying that you're making it about the external things that were causing the problem. You're thinking about what can I tell them?
Yeah,
What can I
yeah,
make them
yeah.
convinced
Exactly.
about? When
Yeah,
you saw the internal correlation, it shifted the way you look at. Oh, that's beautiful.
yeah. So
Sheetal?
Yeah, so basically, I will speak that as I told you that during COVID, so a lot of emotions, so it is just like sometimes it happened like so much. So during COVID, so I just one evening I broke down. I'm just howling, howling, howling. I'm crying. I don't know for what reason I'm crying, but I am just howling. So then I was like, okay, now like I have to gather myself and everything, and then I was like, oh, somehow I got myself together. That day went. Then second, third day, I still, I was listening to your talk also, and I was even doing the S stroke. I don't know exactly the question or something, but there was something after doing it for like 2 days or the third day, something changed, and I could feel calmness inside me only. I could really find myself calm. Like I was like, okay, so what I was like yesterday or day before yesterday, just looking at back that situation, I'm like, thankfully I'm so much better today. And it was that something that came from inside only, that there was, I could feel a definitely a different level of calmness in me.
So when you do the L stroke, because it is also called the flow of thoughts, the stroke kind of reaches to that toughest point, and it just brings that to surface, and you're like, but I don't want to look at it. I was very happy just ignoring it and believing that it didn't exist, but that's what its job is. It's like detoxification or something. So it brings it to the surface, and then for few days you have to kind of bear with it, but within 2 or 3 days you go on the other side, which is required.
I was like, maybe I don't know if I would be able to finish those 21 days if I would get the time, because with the video and with the stroke and all. But it's just about, making time for yourself. So once I started off and made that commitment that I have to finish these 21 days, I think it just went off. I didn't even realize when those 21 days got over, because
So
every day
did
I used to
we.
look, yeah,
So did we.
every day I used to look forward to that, like 45 minutes to an hour. I think Aditi's talk used to be around 30 to 40 minutes, and then the stroke and for 10 minutes, and then the question. So that hour, I every day I used to plan and make time for myself.
Sometimes I felt that it became overwhelming for me. Like, some questions, they really take you to they hit a point, which is very delicate or something like that. So there were some times when I felt really overwhelmed after doing the process. I mean, it
Okay.
helped in the long run, but
Yeah,
yeah,
in the
that is
point,
what
it's
I
like
felt.
that pain, acupressure kind of a pain.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
something which you have put aside, it comes back when you're writing about it. So yeah, that happened. I
and
felt
then what kept you going? Like, if that was a concern, why did you still show up next day?
because it was working. Like for me, I said after 1 week, it's like I really felt a difference. And then I was so happy that something's working, and then I'm able to get out of this. So let's do the whole thing. Like I had found some answers to my questions in the earlier journaling questions. It might continue in the future as well.
Okay, so you
So
were
even if,
hooked to the process,
yeah,
and
I kind of trusted the process, to get me out of my issues.
thank you. Now, one of
Sorry.
sorry, go ahead.
No, no. So what Sheetal and Sohini said, a bit of both actually. I remember writing to you on Insta saying that while I'm writing, towards the end, my hand is literally dragging because I can feel some of the physical symptoms. Like I can feel maybe some days I used to feel sort of a headache. Sometimes I used to feel my hand aching, my hand paining, and that I think So I wrote to you asking what is this thing. So but over time all of that has, like, how you exercise, and then over time you build that sort of power
Muscle.
to keep, muscle power to keep on going on. So something like that happened, wherein now it just happens, like I don't even know when the page ends while doing the stroke.
Yeah, said the professional stroke practitioner.
Yeah.
There was one more this thing I faced, that I couldn't keep my breathing constant till the end sometimes.
Hmm.
Like uh, like when I said that some things were overwhelming, right? Some questions. So
Okay.
while thinking about it and writing, towards the end, my hand became really, jittery. I couldn't keep the strokes for a longer time, or the breathing became faster. Maybe I was thinking about what to write or something like that. So that is something I noticed. Like towards the end, it became a little,
So
tilting.
that's a great observation, but that's how the process works, right? So I triggered you already, and now you're like getting more and more triggered as you're thinking about the answer. And instead of replying and actually, getting it out of your system, I
Yeah.
ask you to hold. And I'm like, now you do the Calmsutra practice. You're like, oh my God, this is not what I want to do. I just want it out of my system. I don't want to think about it. But like, no, this is a point where you breathe deeper and you do the stroke, and your mind is forced to be in one place where it wants to go all over. That is
Yeah.
how that struggle of, like, your mind and body conflict is where the shift happens. It is not without it, it is because of it. And I think you have spotted it correctly. The researcher mind has worked. So if I have to ask you one memory or one anecdote, it's like before, after, if you have to talk about it, what would that be? पहले मैं ऐसे थी.
हाँ मतलब पहले हम ऐसे थे that we wouldn't know how to handle like a situation like this if this comes up to you, even by not like suppose if you come across this situation where you don't want to, like, okay, medicines is something that you are taking, but then need something, because you are at that position and obviously you can't start taking pills. So then I would definitely think this is something, a very new perspective that I got to see in my life, and that was something so amazing that actually that is just available for us, like we don't even have to step out of our house, step out of our bed, and it is just there on your phone, on the mobile, or anywhere. I mean, you're just there.
Mm.
So you really, really, I think quite a few people should really should try it. I would, and I actually did suggest to my group of people that
That's
you all
amazing.
should try it, definitely, because it is very important. I mean, for the mind, for the brain.
So thank you so much, girls, for being on the show. It is always interesting to hear the perspective and the experience that our listeners go through. If you want to be on the show and if you think this conversation or being part of this whole process of getting your handwriting analyzed and asking all the questions and Kama Sutra as stroke, of course, then please write to us on my email ID, write, WRIT, at aditisurana.com. We will make sure that we reach out to you. Our producers will talk to you and figure out how can we weave your conversation in our large story. Thank you so much for listening to one more episode of the Absolutely Right podcast. I'll see you on Friday with a short episode. Bye bye. Happy writing.